second paragraph of Sif Tes. We're in the Sikha of Nitzavim, Aleph, Helik Tes, Ois Tes, in the second paragraph. Muzman Zagen. The Rebbe is asking a question. We learned a question last week about the two pshatim that Rashi says regarding the Gula. The first pshat, Rashi says that the Shechina is in Golos with Yidden, and when the Yidden go out of Golos, so the Eibishter goes out of Golos together with them. That's the meaning of V'shav. V'shav, Hashem is returning out of Golos together with Yidden. In the second pshat, Rashi says that we learn from V'shav Hashem Elokecha Shvuscha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Oichiz B'yadav Mamish. Hashem literally redeems every individual Yid. Wherever in the world he is, Hashem grabs him with his hand and takes him out of Golos. So the Rebbe here asks that there seems to be a contradiction here. When does the Eibishter go out of Golos? Is it when the first Yid goes out of Golos, or when the last Yid goes out of Golos? Since it says that the Eibishter is Oichiz B'yadav Mamish to every individual Yid, so that means when the first Yid goes out of Golos, the Eibishter is holding on to him and going out of Golos with him.
It's the middle.
It's not me.
Saying it's not finished.
It's not finished yet. But L'chayda, the Eibishter has to go out of Golos with the first Yid. On the other hand, though, the Eibishter is in Golos with Yidden until the last Yid is taken out of Golos. So that means that the Eibishter can't leave. Can't ever leave. He has to be there in Golos together with the very last Yid. And apparently, the Rebbe does not accept any suggestion to say that the Eibishter goes out of Golos with one Yid, then he returns into Golos, goes out and returns. If the Eibishter has to be there in Golos constantly with Yidden until they're ready to all be redeemed. So how do we explain both of these pshatim here in Rashi? This comes out of contradiction. It's not clear when the Eibishter leaves Golos.
He's learning Shabbos Shuso as being applying to the whole nation.
There's two pshatim here.
Individual person.
So there's a two pshatim in Rashi. In the first pshat, it refers to all. It refers to all Yidden, and the Eibishter is in Golos with all Yidden. But in the second pshat, Rashi says that it refers to every individual Yid.
He's given two pshatim on the word Shuso itself.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see the answer. Muzman Zagen. Second paragraph on Sif Tes, page 182. Yeah. So Muzman Zagen, we must say as follows: As the Madrega Velcha Shteit Oichiz B'yadav Mamish Ishish, the level that Rashi says in the second pshat of Rashi, that Hashem holds on to every individual Yid and takes him out of Golos, is a ha'arem mitzumtzemes apratis. That's a revelation of the Eibishter that's minimized and that's very, very specific, relating to this individual Yid. Was ist verbunden und wird es chalik kaviyachol zu jedem Yid besonder. It's related to and it's based on the level of every individual Yid. So here, mitzumtzemes, tzimtzum. The Eibishter is mitzamtzim himself and comes down to the level of this Yid where he is in Golos. The point here of Oichiz B'yadav Ish, that the Eibishter takes every individual Yid out of Golos, what this means is you can experience Geula in Tu'efanim. You can experience Geula that the Eibishter comes and there's a great revelation to the Tzibur, to the whole Klal Yisrael, and you're part of Klal Yisrael, so you get redeemed. But you don't experience Geula as an individual. That me, with my personal Golos, my personal Tzaris, and my personal, the Rebbe says, the Golos Pnimis. That's the Iker. The internal Golos, that every person is in his own exile, stuck in his own Golos. Does a person get redeemed from his own Golos? If it's a Geula Klolis of the entire Klal Yisrael, so the Geula is not being related to you to lift you out of your own personal Golos.
Means it would be just wiped out. You just be like.
We're being. It's like, let's say, for example, by Matan Torah, it says Kof Aleim Har Kegigis. The entire Klal Yisrael is there by Matan Torah, and the Eibishter says, "Listen, either you all accept the Torah, and otherwise Paitek V'Raschem." So Chassidus says that there was a tremendous revelation that all Yidden became bottle and they were makabel the Torah. So if Moshiach comes in a similar manner, we have a tremendous godly revelation that just takes all Yidden out of Golos. It's not an individual Gula. The chiddush of Oichiz B'yadav Mamish is that the Eibishter comes down to every individual Yid on his level. Where is your Golos? What does your exile consist of? The Eibishter relieves Tzemes and Pratis. The Rebbe is not talking about a level of tzimtzum that sometimes we speak about
Shus is the last, not the first.
Correct. And this is also hinted in the words of Rashi. And Rashi says, when Yidden are redeemed, Hichtiv Geula La'atzmai. The Eibusher wrote in Torah that he himself is being redeemed together with Yidden. As the Geula La'atzmai, the Rebbe says that when Rashi used the term Atzmai, Atzmai means Atzmus, the essence of Hashem, not any individual level that relates to one Yid. The essence of the Eibusher, the Zaynkesh and Geol in Loshen Rabin. That's when all of Klal Yisrael is redeemed. When alle Yidden werden gelesen werden, that's when the Shechina leaves from galus. You see over here both ends of this inyan. It comes out from me that the main one of the chidushim that the Rebbe is trying to say is when we say Shechinta begalusa to this, Shechinta begalusa in the general sense, it's like it says in the Gemara that just like Bismash Beis Hamikdash Kain, the Shechina dwelled in the Beis Hamikdash. Bisman HaGalus, the Shechina is in the Beis HaKnesses, in the Beis HaMedrash, and Beis Rabbeinu Shebabavel. That's the general inyan of Shechina that's in galus with Yidden. But then Shechinta begalusa also means Rebbe brought before on the session of every individual Yid, the Eibusher is there holding his hand where he is in his place. It's two different inyanim of Shechinta begalusa. Why can't he? So we discussed this last week. For some reason, or apparently, B'Payel, the Geula, happens here in this world, which is a place that's limited in Zman and Makim. And the Yidden from all four corners of the world are not going to be brought to Yisrael berega kememre in literally one instant, unless it happens b'derech nes harum and shemaya. If the Eibusher is taking Yidden out of galus with a naniak with clouds, if it happens b'derech nes. But if it's happening b'ofen tivi, Gemara says loy zachur will be ani v'rechav ala chamayir and will happen b'ofen tivi. Then gathering Yidden from the entire world, from every corner of the world, is going to take however long it's going to take. It's not going to be in one rega. So,
everybody get about a plane ticket or something?
Plane ticket. Discussed this last week already. Yeah, plane ticket. Free plane ticket. Miles.
So then I get so the idea of the individual goals, each person going out, I shouldn't take my head is that not every Yid is ready at the same time the other Yid is.
That
some Yidden are ready to be taken out,
no,
and some will take over.
When Mashiach comes, all Yidden are going to be redeemed, ready or not. Elamai,
yeah, that's the closest stick.
Well,
No, that's
good, but there's still two levels of Gola though.
Right, so the prat
The individual geula is the Eibush is going to take you, every person individually. Everybody has their hardship and their difficulty of leaving God. It's an easy thing to say that Mashiach comes, we're all going to be redeemed and go to Eretz Yisrael. But aliba de emes, to take a yid out of the mindset of Galus, that you need the individual geula of every single yid. That's one.
And that's totally in Siman.
That's going to happen over a period of time.
Why wouldn't you have that? Everybody the same mindset, just like the Matan Torah. I mean, the Gila it's going to be the
so the Matan Torah was a general Gila, but not Lassad Lavai. The Gula is going to be a Gula Shlema. Gula Shlema means that it's not enough that it should be all of Klal Yisrael as one. It has to be fully and personal as well, to fully penetrate every individual on their level. Otherwise, it's not a Gula Shlema, because every person feels like I'm just part of the Klal. I'm following everybody else, but it's not me. I'm not personally fully redeemed. It has to be a full redemption.
That part of you won't forget.
The goal is going to reach every person in the spot, in the lowest place. Every part of the person is going to be fully redeemed. Correct. That's the Chiddush. Like I said, here the Rebbe shows the Remes in Rashi's Lashon, Atzmai. Atzmai goes on the Gula of Atzmus. That's when all Yidden are redeemed.
It might be a 6-week course.
6 weeks? Hopefully it'll be in one day. We'll wait and see how this happens. It can play out in different Tefanim. Chazal tell us Zachu, Loi Zachu, so it can play out in different Tefanim. Okay, let's continue. Ois Yud. The Rebbe adds another diak here according to this in the Lashon Rashi. Und dem Minyan is Rashi meramis mit sein Lashon, ukeshenig olin hichtiv geula la'atzmai. When Yidden are redeemed, Hashem writes a geula for himself into Torah. So the diak here, as you can see, the Rebbe is highlighting the word ukeshenig olin, when they are redeemed. Why does he use the term when they are redeemed? Why doesn't it use a more clear and direct term, which would be ukeshegoyalon, when Hashem redeems them? Nig Olin is talking about like it's like sort of happens when they become redeemed. Why not just say when Hashem redeems them? The Rebbe asks, the goal of Yidden that man doch sehen as es ist durch Hashem begolit. When Yidden will be redeemed, it'll be very clear and open and direct that the Eibush is redeeming them. Kumeforish bekam Mekayim is spelled out in different places in Psukim. Virashi sagt in them v'oid yeshleima, as Rashi says right here that we're discussing. Oiches biyadav mamish ish. It's a clear action of Hashem that you can make no mistakes where this is coming from. It's the Eibush himself stretching out his hand and holding out to every person, taking him out of Galus. It's Havaz Zakter dem Loshen ukeshenig olin, when they will be redeemed, not identifying the source of that redemption, just talking about the result. Why does Anashi use the term of when he redeems them? Yidden are being redeemed as if it's just like it's happening. Seemingly, that's a term you can say when you talk about something related to nature. When things are covered through Teva, and it's a koyach of the Eibishter that's behind Teva, so then you can use such a term. But over here, though, we're saying, no, it's the Eibishter himself directly and openly. He's coming to redeem every single Yid. So why are we using this term of Kishenig Olin, not Kishegoyalon? So here the Rebbe points out that actually this term of B'derech Memela makes the opposite point. Not only is it not an inyan of coming through Teva, Fakert, it's a higher source. Such a high source that we use this lashon of B'derech Memela. Why is that? Is the beard in them? So the explanation of this expression of Rashi is Al derech hamavur. This is similar to the explanation that Chassidus says regarding creation b'chlal. As the bria vizigei durich shem elikim, when they wish to create the world. So as we're learning now in Tanya, in Shar Yichud V'Amunah. So the Alter Rebbe explains that there's Shem Havaya, which is the source of creation, and Shem Elikim, in order for the creation to be the kind of existence that we live in, that we identify a world as a being for itself, and we don't see it for what it really is, that it's just really the energy of Hashem. To identify and define the world as we see it, that comes from Shem Elikim. But the source of creation, though, that there should be a Metzias that's created, that comes from Shem Havaya. And so there's two different parts of creation. So Chassidus explains a point as follows: that when the level of the Bria that comes from Shem Elikim, so here the pasuk says, Bereshis bara Elikim. Bara, Hashem creates, it's an action that Hashem does. Aber von who? What the level of the Bria that comes, and this is the lashon that we say every day in Daven, Pesukah de Zimra, the pasuk in Tilim, who kihut tziva v'nivro, who goes on Hanelam v'nistar, the level of Shem Havaya, which is concealed, which is higher, is Tziva v'nivro. Hashem commands, and the creation happens. V'derech mamela. What's really the point there? What's the difference between these two levels of Bria? So what Chassidus explains is, usually, anytime an action happens, so there has to be a tzimtzum. The source that's doing the action has to come down from the level that he's on, and he has to be involved in the action that he's doing in order to get the action done. If a person is sitting himself in a room, so then he's to himself. If he's communicating with someone else, he has to put himself into that mode. That's when you're talking, and it's the same with any action, with anything. On the level of Shem Elikim, we're talking about a level of godliness where there's a tzimtzum, where Hashem Kaviyachal comes down to give place for our type of existence. For this over here, it's a kind of bria that we are actually becoming valuable and significant. And the gedarim, the definitions of the world, are being given credibility, and it becomes like sort of a real thing. Mashenken, the bria of Shem Havaya is a different kind of bria. Bria of Shem Havaya is the Eibishter remains as is, unchanged. This concept of Nivro is brought in Chassidus to explain the inyan of Ani Havaya Lo Shanisi. The Eibishter is unchanged, and what that means is, even while he creates, which is being active, nevertheless, he doesn't change at all. He remains who he is. The mashal that Chassidus always brings for this is the concept of Oir, just like the Shemesh that remains what it is, and the light just comes out. So this is the Chiddush of Ani Havaya Lo Shanisi, and on this level, the Bria is not about an existence that exists independently for itself. On this level, the Bria is expressing him. It's expressing what Hashem wants. It's expressing his power. It's all about him. He's never going away from himself. That's why he doesn't change. Change is when you are in one space and then you have to go down to another space, or you have to connect to something else. And the real inyan of the Bria, Hu Tziva v'Nivro, the act of creating is never stepping away from who he really is. Adarabah is just continuing to express him. That's why we use the term nivro, meaning as if it happens b'derech b'meila, just like when you stay in your own mitzias and you don't change. Here, when the Eibishter acts, it's happening ki'ilu b'meila, meaning he remains unchanged. That's the bria that comes from Shem Havaya. It's a different level of creation. It's a level of existence, of Seviv Kalam, where the whole world is just an expression of Hashem's oneness. So we can apply that over here as well. In der Madrege, welches verbunden mit jeder Jeden Basunder, Ishish Mim Kaimai, on the level of redemption, which is related to every individual Yid, where you're taking the Yid out of his own personal galos, kommt es durch biyad of chulu. This is Hashem doing an action, coming down, being mislabish, relating to you. You have your issues, your galos, and your world. Hashem has to come down to your level. Like normal kalam, right? Over here, there's an action that Hashem is doing. Hashem is coming down. That's like the bria where Hashem creates for Hashem Elikim. But on the level where there's a geula coming from the essence of the Eibishter himself, was weißt of Atzmus, what does wir sein keshenig ole. Here Rashi uses the term nig ole. The shleimus a geula, the klal Yisrael. That's when you have the ultimate completion of redemption of all Yidden. Mitzad der madrege, on this level, wird sein nig ole. And an eifing from kilu b'derech mamela. Over here, the geula is much deeper, much more powerful. The geula is not relatable to you. The geula is the truth of the Eibishter that's being revealed with its full intensity, where the Eibishter never goes away from himself. Adarabah, lo shanisi. It's all just a continuation and an expression of who he really is. That's the ultimate geula that's expressed in the word nig ole. This lashon of derech mamela. How do we relate to that? Hashem gives us the power. He elevates us. He elevates us. He gives us the power to relate.
Tell me as yours.